According to the report, Ghana is the second highest or second most expensive country to have a healthy meal in a day in West Africa. Second highest. The first is Mauritania. So according to the report, in Ghana, you need $4.29 per person per day to have a good meal or to eat well in the day. So if it's several meals or one meal, that's about 70 Ghana cedis. In the morning, we had some callers calling who cook at home. And they said they need more than 100 cedis to be able to have, good nutrition in a day. How does that make you feel?
Well,
both of you.
The reality of the matter is that this is where we are. This morning, I was listening to some debates in Parliament, and a government official still insisting that the planting for food and jobs has created abundance of food, and that when he was going to his village, he saw so many tomatoes. Is it so many or so much? So many tomatoes on the street.
Yes.
I went to Northeast region. I saw a lot of watermelons getting rotting, and an abandoned watermelon factory that the MPP presidential candidate promised the people of Wali Wali. There is a lot of dissonance in this, in this government. They try to mind game us into believing that whatever we feel, whatever we see, whatever we go to the markets and see is not what is. Because when you look at the general prices of food today, it's just amazing. Tomatoes, we can buy. There are villages, I was told, there are villages that do no longer cook with tomatoes because they can't afford
Not
tomatoes.
Villages, even towns.
In villages
and our homes.
towns, they are not cooking with. Somebody was using watermelon to cook stew.
Yes,
we saw that on
Twitter.
Right. Onions, gari, which was like the get-to. Right now, gari one aloka is 30 Ghana cedis. Sugar. People are not eating sugar again, even though it's healthy. It's not supposed to be. Maize, 1 million Ghana cedis per sack of maize. It is terrible.
1 million.
1,000 Ghana cedis for a sack of maize. Egg, 1 egg, 5 cedis. 1 egg, 5 cedis. So the reality of the rising food prices, and when you don't eat, people are going to bed without even eating food. So don't be insensitive and come on and tell the Ghanaian who is suffering on a daily basis to feed his or her children that there is abundance of food. What is there to be abundant about of food if you can't afford?
Well,
if you can't pay for it,
who are we to blame?
It's quite insensitive.
The two of you have been in government for 32 years. And
don't do that. Speak to the people who are in power today. But the CPP was also in power before. What has happened? And you've not been able to put yourself together.
Right now,
we have a minister for you.
We have all the things.
We have a minister for
Alan Chamantin.
Yeah, so
since when did Alambra Chamantin become an Nkrumah? The CPP has also disappointed Ghana. Yes, disappointed.
It's not an Nkrumah. That is the more reason why we've made it an inclusive government in waiting. And we intend to transform our agriculture. It's not going to be a long wait.
We intend to transform agriculture.
Yes. By having more irrigation projects and giving them more incentives, by giving them financial backing and the rest of it, having agri-parks that will be able to produce all these things, processing, manufacturing. It's not just a question of asking somebody to go and farm rice. We just saw almost, I think last year, there was so much glut of farms having rice without buyers and no processing. So we are not thinking about that. But when we start talking about one village, one dam, one planting for food and jobs, those were just rhetorics because we have not seen anything.
All right. Let me read some messages coming in on both of the conversations we've had. From landlord Bolga D. Line, he says, Ghana is at a crossroad and the agenda to reset Ghana is a national duty. Don't just sit down and continue complaining aloof. Get involved and help build Mother Ghana. All right. Musa Abattoir, texting from Asawasi, says, this is a landmark legislation. It not only affirms our commitments to gender parity, but also aligns perfectly with the 24-hour economic policy aimed at building the capacity of women across the nation. The establishment of Women's Bank under this policy is bold and necessary to provide women with the financial tools that they need to thrive. By equipping women with the needed financial assistance, we're empowering them to contribute their full potential in nation building. All right, we need a holistic approach, he says. Good morning, Na. As the pioneers of the affirmative action, bill, and even before its passage, the NDC John Mahama is already showing the way as he pushes for a woman vice president of this country, Professor Nana Jane Hokwajiman. The ball is now in the court of Ghanaian women to help make Nana the first female vice president in the upcoming elections by voting for the NDC. All right. Thank you for sending that message in. Okay. More messages coming in. Now, this morning has been just about education and no needless shouting and arguments. I'm glad I watched you this one. There's never needless shouting and arguments. We debate the issues, which I believe is also very important in providing solutions to some of the problems that we have. I'm going to say a very big thank you to all my ladies for joining us on the show today. Mrs. Sheila Minka Premo, lawyer convener of the Affirmative Action Coalition. Thank you so much, Sheila, for joining us this morning. It's been great having you.